Hi there, welcome everybody. We are in October and we're here with Velen. Velen's in Muskoka today. She's always traveling all over the place doing Astro clearing circle in various locations. It's fun and exciting. So today it's Muskoka and we have a lovely group here today. And so if you are watching on recording, just remember that we are going to be doing some energy work. And so we're going to be asking everybody's permission. If you haven't been with us yet, whoop, there's someone else. If you haven't been with us to do Astro Clearing Circle in the past, we're going to give you a sense of what's going to happen in a moment. And then I'm going to ask your permission to do energy work with you during the circle. And all I need is for you to put a yes in the chat. Please feel free to put a no in the chat, which will be your intention to not receive any of the shift or change or whatnot, but I'll be doing it with energy testing and making sure that I'm not imposing anything on anyone who doesn't want it. So this whole process of astro clearing is something that Velen and I do in private sessions. We love doing it in one-on-one sessions and also in small groups. So if you are transitioning, if you are moving home, if you have a new creative project on the go, if you are looking at up-leveling your creative work or your career, if you have a relationship that's shifting, we love to look at your astrology. Velen, of course, being a certified astrologer, she pinpoints your patterns. She helps you to assess what those blocks are, and then I help you to clear those blocks. And then together we help you map out your next best steps, which are focused on your chart. Or if you're looking at your business or your creative project, we look at the chart of your project, which I just love. And Velen and I have been playing with that, and it has incredible results. So very excited about that. We also wanted to share with you that Velen is going to be running her very popular Language of the Stars 8-week live online course starting the 10th of October. It is for beginners, and Velen is an amazing teacher. Even though I've taken it twice before, I might just jump in on occasion if I have time to do so, because I love learning astrology from her. She makes it so accessible and so fun and very engaging. And it really helps you to understand those fundamental pieces of language, which she'll be using this evening to explain a little bit about what is going on in our sky over the next month or so and how that's going to be impacting you personally. And then I'm going to pick up on those themes and do energy clearing with you. So if you haven't already said yes or no to me doing that in the chat, please do so now. And I'm going to pass it on to Velen because she is also a woman of many talents. She does the graphic design for these slides. She's a certified astrologer, and she also channels this amazing soul group called Zora. They are a soul collective, and they are full of love, and they often really set the tone for this evening's kind of forward movement. And so I'm going to pass it over to Velen to share what it is that they had to say to her about today.
Okay, so this is what they said to me for you, or I should say through me for you. My dear ones, you're now being asked to step into your own light and embrace your own unique journey of soul growth and the expanded possibilities that are offered to you as you live your three-dimensional reality. As each of you recognize your own point of transformation that's occurring at this time, acknowledge the choices you have made that have brought you to this place in life, and know that each of you are supported to be the best that you can be, to shine your light in your own unique way, and to be a beacon for others who can see your light. The speed at which your world is evolving can at times feel overwhelming, but we will reassure you that it is only because of the level of soul evolution that is occurring for all of you. Know that you are all supported and guided through this portal of energetic transformation, and that as each of you show up in your own brilliance and your own light, you are uplifting all the energies of your planet. Oh, you're not You're on mute there, Sasha.
Here we go. Yep. Let's just sit in the energies of that transmission for a moment. And we're actually going to do a little bit of grounding work because the energies are so intense for everyone right now. We're going to do a little bit of grounding work before we get started. So let's just wiggle our toes. Just notice your toes, notice your feet. Our feet are so far away from our head, and we live in our heads in this culture. So oftentimes a really quick way to just get present to your body is to feel your feet. And then you're going to notice your breath just in and out through the nose, really gently, really softly, really sweetly, receiving that breath fully. And then take your fingertips and just rub them against one another very gently. If you want a little bit more, just sliding the fingers all the way down to the palm, one side and then the other, really being acutely aware of the contact that your fingers have with each other, with the palm. And when we're ready, Belen is going to get us started.
So I'm going to start with the fact that it's Libra season, and I was contemplating this as I was preparing the slides and thinking about it. And Libra is often said to be the sign of balance. And as I was thinking about that, I started thinking about yoga and the recognize that it's not about being in balance. It's that place where we're always coming into balance. It's not like it's a done thing. So it made me think of this yoga pose or any yoga pose that's a balancing pose, where, you have it for a moment and then you shift and you got to find it again. And it's a time to be aware of that we're always seeking a form of balance. It's not an end goal. It's not a place where we rest. It's a place where we're always finding that for ourselves. And because of the intensity of the energies right now, and because there's so much going on, there's so much external stuff, and I'm sure, as all of you probably, so much internal stuff that's going on, it's to recognize that there's a place that we can just constantly be in a feel of, okay, well, am I in balance here? Oh, if I shift here, if I do this, whatever it is that supports some form of balance, but to know that the natural piece of this is that we don't live in balance. We're just constantly finding our way. So it becomes a practice. So I just thought, I don't often necessarily talk about what season it is. Of course, there's we've just had a new moon in Libra, but there's just something to recognize how important it is to give yourself, Libra, the grace of knowing that you're always finding it. There's no sense of, oh, I'm out of balance. No, there's no judgment around it. This is a practice. So I kind of wanted to start with that because I just feel that's important for this time with all that's happening for everybody and everything that's happening in the world. So I've just pulled out some key pieces of astrology. It's not everything that's going on, but there's a few pieces that just struck me when I was looking at this month. And one is that Jupiter is going into retrograde. And whenever a planet goes in retrograde, and actually right now it's stationing, which means it's standing still. And as you can imagine, anything that's moving along and then stops and stays in a place, it's almost like it's drilling down. It's having a focus. It's an emphasis. And Jupiter is about expansion. It's about our beliefs. It's about what supports us. It's about how we uplift, how we expand our life. And there's a lot of grace in Jupiter. So there's this emphasis right now on, where I took this is, what are our beliefs? Because there's so much shifting and changing, and there will be over the next couple of years. It's a place where we need to almost start to think about this in a new way, in this new evolutionary, transformational place that we're all in, this whole globally, we're all in this. So there's a place where it's the perfect time to question our beliefs. And Gemini, Jupiter's in Gemini, and Gemini is about how we think about things. It's how we question. It's like, where's the information coming from? What information are we looking for? So there's a time here where we can start to look at really examining, well, what do we think about our beliefs? What are we telling ourselves about our beliefs? Where is the information coming for us that's supporting our beliefs? And I put here, what do you say? And this really, it was kind of, I was sort of chuckling as I was doing this, because to listen to what comes out of your mouth, often if you have someone, like I have Sasha, who says, did you just hear the words you used? Or did you hear what you said? Catching me saying something that's maybe not as positive as I want it to be, maybe not framed the right way. So it's a beautiful time to pay attention to the words that you're saying to yourself, or the words that are coming out of your mouth. And it is really helpful to have someone who will reflect back to you, you know, did you hear what you said? Is that actually what you meant? Do you mean that? Whatever that is that your true belief? And so there's a place here where this is a really lovely time, because Jupiter wants to support us. So it's a really lovely time to recognize, are we actually speaking in language? Are we thinking thoughts that are supportive, that are expanding who we want to be? And the other place to pay attention to is the inner dialogue. What pieces are we saying to ourselves? And we all know this voice. What is that voice that is talking to us now? What is being said? Is it supportive? Is it allowing you to question in a way that you can examine what you believe, you know, you want to give to the world, what you believe you are, what are the words that you are saying to yourself? So as I was thinking about the Jupiter thing and recognizing, because we're in such shifting terrain astrologically, there's so many changing energies, and over the next couple of years, more and more to come. It's a really pivotal time of transformation in the astrology, that we want to actually drop into what supports us. What are we telling ourselves? So there's just something really, it's potent right now as Jupiter stations, drills down and says, okay, I'm going to support you here. And because Jupiter's in Gemini, and Jupiter blows everything up, and Gemini is busy and its ideas, oh, this looks interesting, this looks interesting, oh, someone's saying that, oh. So there's a place here to watch for distractions. What is distracting that takes you outside of the quietness of your mind? To just be in a place where you can find an inner quiet, because there's a lot of busyness. We all know, and there's a lot going on. So to recognize how important it is to really, I'm going to say, to drop into what you really believe, you have to have a quiet mind. You have to find a way, whether it's walking by yourself in the woods, whether it's just taking a deep breath, whether it's looking at a sunset, listening to music, it doesn't matter what it is, but know for yourself that that's really important to connect to that place. And there's another piece here that at this time, Jupiter is in a supportive relationship to a small planet called Chiron, a centaur. And Chiron's about our own way of healing, and it's in Aries, who we are. And so right now, we are being supported to show up as who we truly are. So there's a place here. What are your beliefs around that? What have you been told? What have you taken on? And now is a chance to think about, to examine, and to really show up as really aligned to who you are now, not who you were in the past, not who you were as a child, just to connect to, wow, this is what I believe, this is who I am, and to find a way to show up in that wherever you can in your life. We all have places where we can align more to who we are, or in certain relationships or certain situations. Jupiter is supporting this. So this Jupiter-Chiron connection is really asking us to accept the support right now to be truly who we are. So Sasha, before we move to the next slide, is there anything, I saw you doing your energetic clear, is there anything you want to bring up?
No, I just wanted to share what came up. So during the discussion about the intensity, there was a blocking belief around, I did initially clear and rebalance everyone for balance right from the start. So I thought that gave me a little chuckle. But the belief that came up was around appreciation, and it's setting off some fear. So whether it be the inability to really receive, and then that feeling of either not being appreciated, but I got the sense that it was more about not appreciating the intensity, not seeing the gift in the intensity, and specifically fear coming up because folks aren't feeling supported. So there's an energy around feeling unsupported, and unsupported came up just as you were talking about Jupiter bringing support. So I thought that was also
Lovely.
quite fun. So we cleared that, and we're now just sitting in this place of self-healing around the I am, or who am I? And we're moving into the next set of slides with that in mind.
Awesome. Okay. So there is, I'll start with the planets. So Mars has moved into Cancer, and Mars is about taking action. It's about courage. It's about drive. It's energy. It can be impatience, anger, frustration. That's the polarity of it all. But I'm using it as courageous self-care. And in Cancer, it's going to be in retrograde, which is going back. It's anytime a planet is in retrograde, it literally says, okay, look inside. So forward movement, outer, this is inner. It's time to examine, to reflect, to review. So Cancer is about how we support ourselves, how we nurture ourselves, how we take care of ourselves and others. So this is definitely self-nurturing, but it's also, Cancer is, you know, the home, the mom that feeds you good food. It's like, oh, let me take care of you. There's that beautiful Cancer feeling. Mars is about taking action in that. So, you know, Mars can be the fierce mother. It's like, oh, I'm protecting my kids, like that level of energizing. So there's a place here with Mars and Cancer. It's how do you take care of yourself? And I'm even going to say, when do you need to be fierce, or when do you need to set your boundaries about how you're going to take care of yourself? There's something really, there's an opportunity here. And Mars doesn't go retrograde very often, every couple of years. And when it's in Cancer, it's going to be here for like about 6 months, back and forth, a little bit, dipping into Leo, but mostly in Cancer over the next 6 months. So there's a place where we really get to work on this. And so Mars can be really energized around this. So you can put focus, you can put attention, and there's a place where it becomes really active. And so this is an opportunity for all of us to say what it is that we need to do for ourselves. And it's a unique path. Mars like charts its own course, goes its own way. It's a leader. So there's a place here for everyone to step into, you know what? This is what I need to take care of myself. This is actually nurturing for myself. And so we're being offered the opportunity to step into how we're going to do that for ourselves. How are we going to support our own well-being? And Cancer is also about the emotions. It's a water sign. And so there's a place of you know, it's a place where we can really drop into our emotions. And so Mars is really powerful. So over the course of the next few months, we get a chance to play with the power of our emotions. And that can be any emotions, and Mars can be anger and frustration. But there's a place to acknowledge and to really recognize that when we can drop in and feel for ourselves, we're actually supporting ourselves. And of course, to find ways that we can express that in a way that supports us and doesn't undermine us. So the place where Mars can get into frustration and anger, sometimes it's really appropriate. Sometimes it's not expressed in a way that's appropriate. So there's a learning curve in here too. But the courage of Mars to say, this is what I need for myself now. There's a place of really owning this place for ourselves. And I'm going to say, once again, because of the dynamic astrology that we're living through over the next couple of years and the changes that are taking place, it's individual. What do I need at this time is not going to be what someone else needs. And so we really need to acknowledge, to find that place for ourselves, and to have the courage to say, this is what I need. And it can be as simple as, I need time to myself, when you haven't done that before. And someone is going, well, wait a second, what do you mean? And that goes back to that Libra piece where someone's going, hang on, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. But it's that place of starting to know how you can stand up for yourself. And Mars is also about cutting things out. So it's the courage to say, this doesn't work for me anymore, this doesn't serve me anymore, to follow your own path with, energized direction, drive, and courage is all part of what is going to be offered for us in terms of our own self-care. And this may actually show up in care for others as well in your life, but I'm going to say this is put the oxygen mask on first. What are you doing to take care of yourself? Because you may be in a situation where you're called to show up for other people in a dynamic way, in a way that you need to really show up with a lot of energy and drive, but really you need to take care of yourself as a starting point. And so the sort of the less functional Mars would be in patience, frustrations, over caretaking, overstepping boundaries. So that's just something to be aware of over the course of the next few months, as Mars takes its time and goes through Cancer and then back into Cancer. So until next spring, we're going to be working with those energies. So I pulled this out because I thought this is because of the transformation that we're all in, and I'm going to say even the intensity, which is the next slide, but even there's a level of chaos that's around right now, chaotic energy. There's a place where this is how we ground ourselves, and to start to really drop in and to know how important that is. So, Sasha, did you have anything as we were going through that slide?
Yeah, so this piece about having the courage to look within is the aspect of self-care. That's the primary aspect of self-care. And there was a piece of freeze mode for our nervous system, and especially as women, when we are called to verbalize, to speak up for ourselves, to speak out, to say no thank you, to say I prefer tomato juice, to say it can be any small thing, right? But that is being there's a tension around that. There was a tension around that. So around specifically the issue of verbalizing feelings, needs, and preferences, and being able to state our clear adult no around the smallest issues. So we really need to practice with small things. Don't imagine that this is all about, your biggest life purpose. It's not. It could be, but it's really about that very fundamental root chakra, feeling safe to be able to speak out and stand up for yourself. And so there was a trapped emotion of worthless that we cleared, and it is done, and we're moving on.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So this piece, it brings in Mars as well. There's a reason I've put this in this order. People who've been with us, over the course of this year will maybe be getting tired of hearing me talk about Pluto. And here we are again. Pluto is the planet of intensity. And it is also stopping in the sky and turning to move forward for the last time in Capricorn for, 244 years, or whatever it is. So this is the last time in our lifetime. Pluto is moving forward in Capricorn. Now, I'll just do a little refresher because I know I've talked about this in different circles, but Capricorn is about structure. It's about authority. It's about hierarchy. It's top down. It's about what, when I think in this context, what structures have we created in our life that we think keeps us safe, think is foundational? And really, this is our chance to look at what that is and examine, is that truly structural? Is it truly, or is it now become more of a crutch, or doesn't support us, or needs to be changed? There's a level right now that is happening in our globally, but when we look within for this last opportunity, and we've only got 6 weeks. Not to put pressure. This is not about pressure. But what's happening is Pluto's going into Aquarius November 19th, I believe. I think I said 17th, but it's the 19th, for the next 20 years. So what we've got this incredible opportunity that we get to live through, where we can look ahead and think, Aquarius, what's our ideals? What's our vision for ourselves? How are we going to show up uniquely? And at this moment, the last gasp of Pluto in Capricorn, we can say, what is supporting us to be our individual self, to follow our ideals? This is the time we're in. And Pluto is intense. And so Sasha and I were having a conversation before we came on, and there's a place where intensity, when it's recognized as a way of guiding you to something. So wherever there is intensity in life, there's a message there. There's something that's being called for you to see. There's a blessing in it. When it's intense and you say, oh, I'm not going there. That's too much. That's too much. Pluto, there is no stopping Pluto. Pluto will make it more intense so that you can start to actually examine what is going on. It's a focus point. So in general, this is a really dynamic time. And the potential in this intensity is about what we can learn. Pluto wants to go deep into our shadow. It wants to dig deep, because Dan, when you dig deep, that's where the gems are. That's where the gold is. So there's a place here where, as we allow ourselves to go deep into ourselves, and in this case, Capricorn, to see what is supporting us, what feels really solid, what's our foundation, what things have we tucked away that we haven't either been able to see, we don't want to see. This is our chance to kind of acknowledge it, to embrace it, to gently guide ourselves through whatever the intensity is. So it's a really potent time. And in general, it's a time of inner authority and personal empowerment. These are themes that come up with Pluto. Pluto's about power. How do we learn about power in our life? And there's a place here where it's looking at, I'm going to go back to beliefs here. There's a place here even about what our beliefs are about what keeps us safe and what is our foundation. But Pluto literally wants to create these structures to support our highest purpose, to allow us to do our deep healing and allow for transformation. That is Pluto. Pluto is death and rebirth and rising, the phoenix rising from the ashes. That's what we're being offered at this time. And so there's a place here where this little opportunity, this next 6 weeks, is something that just to be aware of, and to maybe allow some level of intensity, instead of kind of blocking it or shutting it down, recognize it as the blessing. And almost, it's that place of giving thanks for, wow, okay, there's something I need to see. What is it? There's something here to be learned. So because Mars, I was just talking about Mars, self-care, having the courage. Mars is, over the course of this whole month, and actually going into next spring, is opposite Pluto. So we've got activating, dynamic, this warrior spirit, Mars, energizing, courageous, opposite Pluto, deep dive, total transformation, this deep healing, bringing things up from the shadow. These two are interacting with each other. They're activating each other, and they're, I'm going to say, amplifying each other just by these two planetary energies. So Mars is giving us the courage to do a deep dive into our own shadow and figure out how to work with that. How are we going to do that in our day-to-day life? What does that look like? How are we going to support that? And because they're in opposition, in astrology, the opposition often is external. So someone in your life, a situation in your life may bring up a place where you need to look at some things you haven't wanted to look at before. Or someone actually may encourage you to do a deep dive. It could be going into therapy, or there could be anything. So there's a place here where we are being offered this opportunity to do this deeper work. And Mars gives us the courage. So once again, using our own self-care and self-nurturing to dive deep into ourselves and to allow pieces to come up, to be cleared, to be healed, to be transformed. That's part of the energy that we're working with over the course of this month and beyond, but this month for sure.
And there's another aspect that's coming up here that's related, Belen, which is this idea that because intensity is acting as a guide, some of us are challenged with seeing that we are worthy of that blessing.
Yeah.
And so unworthy came up as a vibrational frequency, kind of a thematic piece around seeing or receiving the blessing. And the response was a fear response again from the bladder. So if any of you are having UTIs or bladder challenges these days, and that could be, having to go pee more in the night than you usually do without drinking more. And drinking, by the way, is important. And Valen's going to talk about that flow, I think, next slide. But there is a piece around feeling irritable, peeved, irritable, annoyed, frustrated in this. And that takes us back to that first slide that Valen talked about in terms of Mars, right? Bringing up that impatience, that frustration. So this is really about, the next 6 weeks is a short period of time. It's going to feel really intense, and it's probably going to go by really quickly, just like this whole time period has gone by really quickly in some ways, and is accelerating in some ways too. But the intensity may make it feel there may be some discomfort. And so finding your way around that, again, coming back to, that's why Mars is in Cancer right now, coming back to that self-care piece, that rugged, that fierce self-care around making things more easeful for you, and letting go of any ideas that you're somehow being kept from the blessing. Everybody else is getting a blessing except you. That's just not true.
And I'm going to go back to the very first slide, or the very first point, which was we're in Libra season. And so as we step into any form of intensity or any form of healing or any form of, it's a place where, I feel out of balance. I got to pay attention to that. It's always coming back to balance. It's not that we live in balance. We're always finding a way to come back to it. So that would be part of this whole story as well.
And taking that Mars Aries action. So we've got that Aries Libra nodal axis, taking that action to bring self back into balance, whatever that is. Yeah,
exactly.
Love that.
So what I kind of did was look at some points that tie what I've just talked about together as, it's almost like action steps. So embrace the journey. So we're in this crazy astrological time and all this transformation that's coming on. We're in it. We're here. This is not like this is going to be happening next year. We're living it. We have chosen to show up at this time. And I put that at the very bottom. We've chosen to show up, as partly from the channeling, to shine our light in our own unique way. We've all made that decision to be here and do that. So there's a place where my first point was just connect to the inner balance despite the external distractions. So there's going to be lots of distractions, going to be lots of stuff. There's going to be lots of chaos. There's going to be lots of people who don't really even understand we're in this, incredible transformational healing time. So what does that mean? We need to connect to our own inner balance. Like that's the only place that we can go with this, because all the external will be happening anyways. It's not our place to worry about. It's our inner balance that we find. And then there's also the place where, with that Jupiterian nature, when we nurture and support our vision for ourselves now, it's like feeling, I'll go back, that's the water, that's Cancer, feeling our expansiveness. Feel, even if we can't, it's almost like, fake it till you make it. Even if you don't believe it, when you can drop into the feeling of who you are and just that sense of expansiveness. Even if you don't know how it's going to happen, even if you don't know what it means, doesn't matter. It's the feeling. So this is a beautiful time with that Jupiter, just to allow that to inform you and to capture that essence of the vision of who you are, your big self, your expanded self. And recognize that when we work at questioning our beliefs and exploring that, that is a path to deeper self-understanding. So the Plutonian energy of going deep into ourselves, but also that Jupiter place of let me expand, Jupiter reveals truth. So let me show you something for you, for who you truly are. There's a gift in that. So there's a place here of bringing those energies together is really beautiful. So to recognize as you question, is this really who I am? That you are deepening a sense of who you are. And there's a place of just standing up for who you are now with courage. That's part of this energy. That's part of the Mars in Cancer. It's part of the Mars opposite Pluto. It's like owning who you are. And then there's the Jupiter with this supporting with Chiron, that healing. This is who I am. So there's an energy here that we can really work with that over the course of this month as well, moving forward too. But it's a lovely thing to be working with right now, and to recognize there's times when it really takes courage to show up and say, this is who I am. No, no apologies. This is who I am. And acknowledge the times of intensity can offer our most powerful healing opportunities. Just to remind ourselves, there's things happen in life that are really intense and are really challenging. And as we all know in life, because we've all lived a lot, you look back years later and go, man, that was so incredible that I made it through, and look where I am, or what I learned from that experience, whatever it is. We all have our own examples of this. So to acknowledge it in the moment, in these times of intensity, that this is a powerful healing opportunity, especially when I'm going to say we courageously look after ourselves. So once again, back to that last point, like this is, my personal philosophy. We chose to come in, to be here on this earth at this time, to shine our light through the power of the transformation that we are living, certainly over the next couple of years, in terms of this is astrological changes that are happening. We've made that choice. So we're showing up now. So our job is simply to shine our light in the way that we do, whatever it is. Might be, saying hi to a stranger on the street as you pass by, or opening a door for someone. It may be whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. That's what we do. Literally, it's just what we do. Just find a way to offer your light in any way, anytime you can. So, Sasha, did you have stuff come up?
Yeah, it's fun. Actually, the piece that came up right away was this piece around us having chosen to be here now. And, there's inevitably going to be, we all, even though no matter how deeply we believe this, and I absolutely 100% believe it, we all have moments, right, of wondering, like, what was I thinking? And so especially, with this intensity right now. And so this idea about us shining light in our unique way and expressing our free will because we've chosen to be here, actually showed up in our nervous system in terms of us needing to balance the safe and secure aspect of our nervous system. So when our nervous system is in rest and digest, which is otherwise known, as the safe and social response, or in being in connector mode, what we were kind of missing with that was the energy of fascination. So it's all about that Libran curiosity.
No, you know what it is? Jupiter and Gemini. Jupiter and Gemini.
Jupiter and Gemini.
And Gemini, nervous system, too much activity, too much whatever. Yeah, 100%.
But the fascination piece is that curiosity, right? If we go to curiosity, every time we're feeling that extra kind of buzz, or we're feeling irritated about having to be here during this intensity, and it just goes on and on and on, and is it ever going to end? it's really about finding a fascination with the process, just taking that step back. And that's an interesting lead into our journey. And so I rebalanced us for fascination, and I'm just going to put that in here. So holding space for complexity and contradiction. That is an aspect of being in that safe and social connector mode. And in order to do that, we can look to the energy of fascination. Thanks, Jennifer. It's one of my favorite, it's one of my favorite energies. I have to admit that. Yes. Curiosity. Okay. So we have a couple of minutes. This is going to be short. We've done, if there's anything that feels like it's outstanding to you or that hasn't been addressed, or there's something that's been bugging you, irritating you, that's on your mind, that's sitting in your heart, and you can express it in one or more sort of one word or phrase, please go ahead and throw that in the chat and I will address that. I'm not going to speak out anybody's name or say what it is that you've put in the chat, so people can just read it for themselves. But for the recording, I'm going to ask those of you who are watching the recording to do that as well for yourself, to just make a note of anything that feels outstanding, that feels like it just still hasn't been addressed. And so we're going to take a moment now to notice our breath. So let's take a hand on the heart. And we're going to start at the lower heart. So not where the clavicle is. I want you to do a full hand width. I'm just going to get my screen down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. My funky shirt here. Okay, so a full hand width down below the clavicle. And we're doing that on purpose. So we're dealing with that sort of lower heart, not the high heart. So the high heart is where we hold our intention and purpose. But here, this is really about that self-care, that self-love, that nurturing. So just take a moment here, and as you breathe into your belly, place one hand on your belly, just below your belly button. That second chakra. So we've got fourth and second, holding them with gentleness. We've got some grief and some loneliness coming up for folks. And that's understandable during this time. So many challenges, so many levels. So can you just make that okay for yourself for a moment and breathe into your hands, noticing your breath, nice deep breath in through the nose. And as you exhale through pursed lips, as if you're blowing at a feather, just ruffling the feather a little bit. And again, inhale through the nose, nice and deep, into the belly, breathe into that hand. Receive the belly with the hand, and then exhale through pursed lips gently. And if you haven't done it again, do it a third time. So this very simple exercise that we're doing right now with the breath, just holding hands on the belly and on the heart, feeling the hands and breathing into the hands. A nice deep breath and then exhale through pursed lips. That starts to bring you into that rest and digest, into that connector mode, into that safe and social mode. It takes you out of anxiety, stress. You are actually having a brain chemical reaction right now. And so just taking a moment to be present to yourself. And we're going to go a little bit deeper within. Our journey is going to take us within. So we're practicing that mastery of self-awareness, that mastery of inner actualization, sovereignty, finding our inner authority, And as you move within, you may have put your word in the chat that you're feeling right now, and you may not have. It might be a word that you're just holding for yourself right now, an idea, a phrase, something that's a little bit of a challenge for you right now, something that's maybe making you feel sad or a little irritated or anxious, a little edge of worry, feeling a little pressure. Might have to do with you, might have to do with your loved ones, might have to do with work or the planet or your furry beasts that you care for. Whatever it is for you, just landing with maybe one word that's coming up for you, one stress, one challenge. And I want you to visualize it as a stone. It can be any stone that you like. It can be a very dense, it can be granite. It can have mica in it, it can be shiny, it can be a crystal. It can be a stone that you find very beautiful, even though this is something that is hard for you. That's okay. That's the reminder that even our challenges can be beautiful in some ways. So just allowing that stone to just sit within you. Maybe it's a piece of black tourmaline, so it's really dark and dense. Whatever it is for you, you're just going to let it sit there. And now as we breathe in, we're going to allow ourselves to expand around it. So you can energetically take a step back. You can really feel the expansion that you're experiencing as you breathe deeply into your ribs. Feel your ribs separating out, breathing side to side. And just continue to observe that stone and take another step back, get further up and further away and expand into the space around you, more into your chair or your couch or your bed or your yoga mat, wherever you find yourself. And keep getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Just gently. You don't want to force it. Just allowing yourself to expand into yourself. Notice how the edges of you and the space around you start to blur. Your skin doesn't feel quite as noticeable or tight on your body as it did. It starts to soften a little bit. The edges get softer and you get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Remind yourself that you are an energetic being enjoying a physical experience. Even when you don't enjoy it, even when the physics feels gritty or prickly or hard as a rock, that's okay. Just keep expanding into the energetic beauty and mystery and magic of you. Notice if there are any colors as you stretch into your auric field. Are there colors there for you? Maybe some mauve or some lavender, maybe some indigo or some green, maybe some pink or orange. Just expand out into it, into that color. Remind yourself that your chakras actually reach all the way up into space energetically. So you can go as far as you want. But right now, we're just going to fill the room. Fill the room with your selfness, with your I am. Not the I am of limitations that society requires of you, but your truth, your authenticity, the real you. Allowing and allowing and allowing. And when you're ready, turn and look down, long, long, long way down. Still within you is that same stone that you left a few moments ago. It hasn't changed. That challenge, that irritant, that piece of experience or relationship that's making you a little bit sad or a little frustrated or a little irritated or a little anxious. It's still there. And yet it's so small now that you can hardly see it. And you've become so large. And so you simply smile at the little stone and allow it to be what it is. And when you're ready and you found some small measure of acceptance of that little stone within you, that stone of grief, or loneliness, or worry, or sadness, or irritation, or frustration, whatever that little stone represents, so small now, at such a distance. And you are so large. Just reach down very gently, and just between your index finger and your thumb, using that fine motor skill that you developed so long ago, just reach down that tiny, tiny little stone that's barely a grain of sand now. Just pick it up and place it outside of you. And look at it and appreciate perhaps its blackness in the sun, or its shininess, or its pinkness, or its roughness. It's quite small, so it's hard to appreciate it, but you can still do that. You have it in your mind's eye. You're just looking at the stone, just noticing. And then you bring your awareness back within you and feel its absence. And simply feel grateful for all that it helped you to know about yourself, to understand, and to appreciate about the world around you. And very slowly, again, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, still holding the hand on the second and fourth chakras, being fully present to yourself. Slowly and gently come back to you. And when you're ready, maybe giving that heart a gentle little rub, reminding yourself to always be kind in your self-care, generous in your self-care. And take a moment for appreciation, just really feeling good about yourself, that you were able to expand out and simply remove that piece and be in the space of appreciation for what you've learned and gained along the way. And when you're ready, coming back to you in this space, in this time. And if you have anything that you would like to share or express in the chat, please go ahead. And for those of you watching the recording, just maybe spend a little bit of time with your journal. And we'll be back. This is it for us this evening. Just a reminder that you can reach out to us at toolsfortransformation.ca if you're interested in more information about doing private astro clearing with Valen and me. We just love doing this work and hope that you enjoyed the Astro Clearing Circle experience this evening as much as we did. Bye-bye.